Hi, everybody. Good afternoon, evening, morning, wherever you are joining us from. Did I get that right? We're doing it live. Welcome to our community call for this launch week. The week has been eventful. We've been launching a couple of features and new tools for your webhooks management, development, deployment, etc. And this call will just be talking about them, myself and Raymond. And you get the opportunity to ask us questions, you know, based on what we are talking about and based on just Convoy in general. Literally, we've had a lot more people joining Slack and asking various questions. So yeah, this is just an opportunity to just ask us any question, as well as we talking about most of what we've been working on for the past weeks and what we've been launching and making noise about on the internet. Um, Roman, how are you feeling? Feeling good?
Yeah, I'm feeling fine. How you doing?
Good, 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 good. Um, so I am going to start us off with um, let me present my screen. Convoy launch week. This is the entire thing we did this week. I actually like how this color comes down through, like it's like the progression. Really nice. So we start out with Convoy Playground. We dive into Convoy idempotency. We dive into nokes. We dive into meta events. We dive into access controls, and we wrap up the day. Basically, today we launch access controls and advanced portal links. So I'm going to be talking about that today at the end of the session, basically, right? Um, so I hope you guys have fun with us, hanging with us, asking any question about webhooks and any question about anything we are launching. And then most importantly as well, I'm looking forward to what you think we should be doing next. We have a couple of ideas and we have a roadmap as well, but this is also where we're going to be taking feature requests, feedback, questions, just anything basically. All right. Um, let's take it away, Raymond. I'll start out with Playground. Let me open up Playground. What do you think, Raymond, while I'm trying to open up Playground?
Okay. We have been working on a few things for the past 3 months, and we are launch week is, and this launch week is for us to show you all the things we've been building over the past 3 months. Well, I will not say really 3 months because it's not really 3 months. We started planning this thing like before the quarter started, and we've built so much. We currently worked on the playground, which is like a webhooks or sites websites thing.
Yeah, yeah,
Then
yeah,
we
yeah,
also
yeah, yeah, yeah.
web
Web
dependency.
society website thing,
Then
yeah.
we worked on a new product called No Hooks. We worked on meta events. We worked on the fly events. We worked on our Kubernetes deployments, and we worked on some enterprise features. Yeah, we actually debuted our enterprise features, which is portal links and access controls. Yeah, so I think
Worked on
she will
a
make
shitload
this. Are
of
you ready? Are
things.
you ready for the program now?
Yeah, yeah, I am. Let me take it away. Present my screen again. Um, all right. So we wrote about Convoy Playground. Um, and there's also a demo video. If you click on this link, it'll take you to a 2 minutes video, very quick, show you how it works. But basically, I'm just going to tell you why we built it, um, and just sort of see this blog post. Basically, right, you want to be able to, one of the things when you're using webhooks is you want to be able to quickly test. You want to see the payload structure, you want to see the signature headers, you want to see if there is some timestamp for replay attacks, you want to see if there's some idempotency key, you want to see the structure of the request. and you want to play around with it, and you might be integrating multiple providers. So you want to sort of have a feel of it without necessarily creating an account, without necessarily signing up to a platform and putting all your details, only to just test a provider, right? And so that's why we essentially created Convoy Playground. This is the same thing, sort of the same thing you do with um webhooks or sites. So Roman says the webhooks or site thing. Yes, it's the same thing. It's a Convoy Playground. It looks
And the thing I really like about Playground is the fact that you can replay the the events you send to it. So with webhooks or sites, you can't really resend those events. You just
yeah,
it's just a dump. So Convoy really the playground Convoy playground really acts like it acts as a proxy and also as a tool
a
that you can,
dump.
yeah, it acts as a dump and also as a tool you can use to replay. So you can resend those same webhooks to other places.
Yeah, so
And um no, continue, sorry.
in the alternate scenario, what you have to do is you'd have to go back to the provider or wherever the events came from, push it to the dump, and then reinspect or do whatever you want and forward it again. But here you can push it once and continue to replay that same guy somewhere else, which is
Exactly.
essentially the replay feature. Yeah. So you can do incoming and you can do outgoing, and this is how it looks basically. You can sort of see what comes in and what's going out. Basically, essentially a dump and a proxy, right? And you can get some responses back from the outgoing. It's really cool, if I say so. um, Essentially, again, this is what it looks like. But this is just the starting. This was what we launched in day one, Convoy Playground. You can access Convoy Playground here. Let me share it again. So this is how it looks like, playground.getconvoy.io. Um, Basically, this is Playground, day one of launch. So I'll be handing over to Raymond. He'll be talking about webhooks idempotency. Let's go.
Yeah. So webhook idempotency has been something we wanted to build for a while. Because so we how will I say it now? We didn't build it. We didn't build an importance into web into Convoy because we didn't like then initially we didn't know how to even build it. To be honest, like even even as we were building it, there were still like internal conflicts of how we should work and because there's no industry standard to how to build or how to build idempotency into your webhooks into your webhooks even though idempotency is a feature baked into HTTP. So I think that's how I want to structure our thoughts. So there is this expired RFC. There's this expired RFC, but then it's expired for a reason because the internet could not come to a conclusion on
Agree.
what they could not agree on what they wanted idempotency to look like for webhooks, and that also made us not add it until we were able to gather enough information and knowledge on how we should work.
We should
And
probably share
thank you.
that RFC.
Should I mean I don't think it's something for this call, but I will drop it in the comments. I will drop it in the comments.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. So what I mean, so things are for webhooks and an dependency they go hand in hand. You cannot have you cannot send that you cannot be a webhooks provider without giving your user some form of and then some form of way to duplicate their requests. Yeah, and and to be honest, that's why we've added about the hypothesis in Convoy today. So we just had to take our time to build it and to think to not to actually to think about how to build it, then to now build it. And initially, we didn't even figure out how to build for incoming projects because Convoy was initially built as an outgoing project only. Like for it was Convoy was initially built to only send request events out, and building for incoming projects was actually much harder. So what we did for incoming for building for outgoing projects, all you need to do
Much
is
other than we anticipated.
So all you need to do is for outgoing projects, the client generates their key. They generate the key, they determine what they want the key to be, and they generate the key, and we just pass that key along to your endpoints. For incoming, it's more involved. So some providers like Stripe, Twilio, Aiden will specify headers that you should look for, or parts of the body that you should look for to build your idempotency, to build an idempotency key. While some web providers, like not even some, a lot of providers don't really bother. So it means they can send you multiple requests that if you don't properly handle would basically trigger the same event to happen on your system twice. So let's say Paystack, for example, sends or Flutterwave sends you a payment or success, and you don't properly handle that guy, and you don't properly handle it, you can basically fund an account twice. So what we did,
That literally
what
has
we,
like real business like
yeah,
problems
yeah,
like that. Real, imagine you're in a
exactly.
peak period and you have multiple transactions and you're just funding people
Exactly.
twice.
And some
Yeah.
fail, but then they don't really fail. They just log the failure, but they actually succeeded. So what happens is that you have a lot of transactions that happened, but you don't know they happened because there was no log and
Mm-hmm.
there's no way to try them. So Paystack just sends them back to you, and you now fund those accounts twice. And there. So what we did was that if for providers, if a provider gives you idempotency, great. I mean, you are good. All you need to do is tell Convoy that this is where my independence key is, and Convoy you use that key to supply, and Convoy you use that key to duplicate requests. Then what you can also do is if your provider doesn't give you, if your provider doesn't support that dependency by default, what you can do is you do some introspection by yourself and figure out what parts of the requests of that the provider sends are kind of unique. It can be one field, it can be multiple parts of the request, the header, the body, the query param, something like that. And you can combine that to build your own idempotency key. What you can also do is you can also put a proxy in front of your own service that will append something to the request being sent. And that will be used to duplicate. But then you don't really need to do that because Convoy can do that for you. So we actually really thought out the process, and we can't wait for you to try it.
I think one thing I like about the feature again is that like we don't drop your events on the floor. So regardless of if there's an idempotency failure or not, all the
Yes.
events coming from a provider are always in your event log. So
Yep.
you can go there and see, oh, I misconfigured my idempotency and this was dropped in error. Reconfigure your idempotency and replay them. That's like that's super because no event is dropped on the floor because you 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 might misconfigure it if you don't, or your provider might change the structure.
Might change the structure. Yeah, I mean, let's not mention might change the structure. Let's not mention it. Unicorn.
Yeah. But yes,
Yeah.
yes.
So so there's also something we added. So if you we that's building on what Shubomi said. If a request is being if a duplicate is sent, if a duplicate request is sent, we just mark it as duplicate in the event log. So we don't send a request, we don't send an event delivery. We don't basically we don't send it to your endpoints. What we do is we just send it to your endpoint, but we send it to can you guys hear me? We don't send it to your endpoint, but we save it in the event log. Yeah, that's what we do. Um, so okay. Yeah. So then there's something there's something else you need to know about the idempotencies. So normally what some providers do is they provide the time to live for their idempotency key. So basically they are saying um, we send you this key, we send you a request with this key. This key is valid for 24 hours. So if we send you another request with this same key, after 24 hours, this key is valid again. And that's something that we debated internally and we could not really come to a consensus. So what we said was, or what we decided to do was, for an hypothetical keys sent to Convoy or generated by Convoy, the keys are valid till your data retention, to your data retention kicks in. So if data retention of your project is 30 days, it means an important keys in your project for that project will be valid for 30 days. And I mean that can be good and also bad because during a downtime, if you had a downtime maybe in the nights and you want to resend events, you can be sure that events that are sent, events that are retried will be duplicated. An event and new because if you say okay, you set your time to live to 24 hours and you find out that something happened 2 days ago, you can't really resend those events to your system anymore because 24 hours has passed. Those keys would have been deleted. Yeah, so that's something that was built into um, that's something that was built into how it works. Yeah. So I would go on to so we can move on to no hooks.
All right. All right. Nooks. Let me basically Nooks was a project we thought about for a long time. Um, and essentially the goal with Nooks is to add webhooks to platforms that we need webhooks for, but don't have native support for webhooks, right? Um, we sort of thought about it a long time ago, but we weren't ready to ship it because we were figuring out the core of Convoy. And so now we figured out the core of Convoy. It's, Convoy is reaching stability, which we're super excited about. And then we decided it might be time to write Notes. And then we're able to spin up in like a short period of time and come up with something that we think is cool, if we think so. Yeah. So essentially, Nooks is a project that enables us to receive webhooks from 3 providers today. The plan is to extend it to as more providers as possible where we can create automation or workflows that were not naturally possible. So you think of, for example, when you deploy to DigitalOcean, you deploy a new droplet. Yeah. How do you ensure that, or how can you do post deployment CD process? Um, and people do this differently. Today, what most people do is you pull the API and say, is my droplet up? Is my droplet available? Can I now deploy resources to my droplets and all of that stuff? Today, what most providers do is what most users do is to poll. With no hooks, you can receive notifications when your droplet is up. You can receive notifications when your droplet is down. When you resize your droplets, you can receive notifications. When you scale up your droplets, you can receive notifications. When you switch off your droplets, you can receive notifications. When you delete your droplets, you can receive notifications. That's just one of the use cases for DigitalOcean resource. And there's a whole lot of resources they have. And in the coming days and weeks, our plan is to continue to figure out the event types, the payload structure that our users need or that people need, because we don't necessarily have that exact use case internal in Convoy. But we figured that, and I can share links afterwards. We figured that there are several platforms that people use and are requesting for webhooks. And for some reason, the providers have not provided webhooks. But we strongly believe that more APIs on the internet should have webhooks. And so if we can build it, then we might as well just build it and share it. No is also written in Rails and it's also open source as well. We'll share the links in the description with the RFs and everything. But yes, Nook is also open source and available for contributions. Today, you can receive webhooks of Notion databases, right? Which can be useful for several use cases, right? Many use cases. And the thing I personally like about Nooks is it's sort of agnostic to any um workflow system, right? Like if you think about it theoretically, you can build a polling system with any of your workflow tools on or no code platforms like Node, like Zapier and the rest of them. But then that's very tied to Zapier. Yeah. Whereas with no hooks, it's agnostic to the system behind it that is doing the after event flow. So Node is essentially a data source for webhooks for platforms that do not natively support it. And you can take those events and send it to Zapier and do some things. You can take the same event, send it to Make, do some things. You can take those same events, send it to a serverless function, do some things. Because we just essentially believe that more APIs on the internet should have webhooks. Yeah. And then if we can use their APIs well within their rate limits to create those events, then we might as well do it. And that's the thesis behind Node. Today we support Notion databases, Render, which is the new cool looking Heroku, and Digital Ocean droplets. Um, we plan to support many more resources and we're looking forward to requests. We should also share the link in the chat so people can like raise GitHub issues on platform services they would like to see on Nodes. Did I do justice to that, Raymond?
Yeah, yeah, you did. I didn't. Yeah,
Yeah, same thing. You log in with your OAuth on NoHooks, app.nohooks.io. You log in with your OAuth. You link your preferred service, Notion, DigitalOcean. Ah, that rhyme, Notion, DigitalOcean, or Render.
Miranda. Yeah.
And then you can receive events of them. For example, one of the events you can receive from Notion, which I think is cool, is um, for a particular database, if you had a new row, it gives you new row create database.row.created. You can also get database.row.updated, database.row.deleted, and you sort of can sync your database on Notion to your favorite CRM, to
Beautiful.
Mailchimp, Mailchimp, um, Mailchimp contact table, intercom, just literally anything you think you want to have a one-to-one mapping from Notion databases to, which I think is super cool. Yes, any questions will be lovely. Now, we would be moving to the next thing. We have two more things to talk about, and then we'll take questions. Two more features, and then we'll take questions. Oh, I think we can take questions now if there are questions. Oh, they're all congratulations. All right, cool. Nice. Um, Meta events and on the fly events. All right. Before I do meta events and on the fly events, I will dive straight into advanced portal links and RBAC. All right. Advanced portal links and RBAC. Basically, access controls are essentially the way we are able to limit users' access on the Convoy dashboard. Now, this was literally from a feature request. A user or our users wanted to be able to onboard customer support reps to be able to directly debug their webhook events on the dashboard. And so now in this launch, we announced our access control, which means users can literally onboard customer support reps and engineering managers. And engineering managers can what? Can create new endpoints, can manage the endpoints, can manage users' endpoints, can pause and unpause, can roll their secrets, manage the resources on the platform. While the customer support reps, can debug events, can figure out why there is a failure, because usually the flow of resolving webhook issues starts with the um, the customers reaching out to your customer support reps, and the customer support reps reaching out to the engineers, and the engineers fix the issue or figure out the issue and respond back to the customer support, and customer support bubbles back to the customer. But in this scenario, customer support can literally go into the dashboard without the fear of them tampering with something that they were not meant to tamper with. fixing the issue or figuring out what the underlying issue is, probably, most probably, communicating with the user why this went wrong, or communicating back to the engineers what went wrong and the next possible solution. So we shipped access controls in the latest release. Access controls is a paid feature. It's available on the cloud platform and also available in our self-hosted enterprise build, which you can reach out to us on Slack if you want to know more. And advanced portal links. Advanced portal links is a feature I've been I personally like, and also users also ask for it. Essentially, advanced portal link says, as a user of Convoy, can Convoy enable my users add their endpoint directly without me having to manage the endpoint management process? And with advanced portal links, you can embed Convoy's dashboard in your dashboard, and users can know not only see their events, they can add new endpoints, they can update previous endpoint, they can delete old endpoints, they can update endpoint secrets, they can pause and unpause, sort of do everything that is super cool on their endpoints, or necessary, not even cool, necessary. And a good example is a customer or a user might be having a downtime and wants to pause deliveries while fixing the problem. So when they're done fixing the problem, they can unpause and continue receiving events. Now, the advanced portal link enables you to expose all these capabilities directly to the user and enable them sort of manage their endpoints, enable them change their endpoints, enable them add multiple endpoints. So they have several backend services, which is common now in the day of microservices and server service oriented architectures. Yeah. And this is something that the advanced portal link enables you to embed. Formerly, in the former world, or in the previous world, this previous world was what, weeks ago, users could only see their events and not take actions. But now users can see their events and can also take action. And this is also available on the cloud and the enterprise build. So I'll hand over to Raymond now. And Raymond will take us about meta events and on the fly events. Let's
Yep.
go.
Thanks. So, mm, 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 mm. well, let me start with on the fly events. So, on the fly events is kind of tied to what you just talked about, the advanced portal links, or portal links basically, because on the fly events allows you. Hmm, I'm thinking of the best way to put this. Actually, it allows you onboard your users quickly. Allows you onboard quickly to Convoy. Basically, you can get started with Convoy really quickly, because all you need to do is put your endpoint URL, put the event payload, and I think that's a really what that's I think that's really all you need. It allows you test Convoy really fast, and you can establish a POC in really short time. And with using our SDKs, you can basically get started with Convoy by calling just one endpoint or calling one function. Basically, that's how fast that's how fast we really streamline this process. In the past, which was like 6 months ago, quoting Shubomi, about 6 months ago, you didn't have to create an endpoint, you had to create a subscription, you didn't have to create a source, and you didn't have to know what all these things were. But now you don't need to know what all these things are. So we do all that heavy lifting internally, and we create the endpoint for you, we create a subscription for you, and we send your events to endpoints. And we do it in a way that if you if you change the endpoints, we create a new endpoint. You basically just generate a new endpoint for you, so you can just keep working with it. We already think we've already seen people use the on the fly events, or we call it dynamic events internally. We already see people use dynamic events, the event creation endpoints, to onboard really fast, and we are happy they've been able to onboard to onboard really fast. There are some limitations to using there are some limitations to using the dynamic endpoints too. So what will happen is, because it can cause some confusion. If you send an event to endpoint A, and you go to your dashboard and change the URL of endpoint A, if you send another event to endpoint A again, it creates a new endpoint, so it can cause some confusion. But we have a solution for that. We've not implemented it, but we have a solution for that.
We have an
Um,
idea.
yeah, it's not, but we've not implemented the solution yet. So the next thing I'm going to talk about is meta events. And meta events are operational events that we send to your system. So I mean, Convoy is for sending events, but then we are sending you events. I mean, the irony, I know, right? Um, so imagine, so you now, so what will now need to happen is you need to set up Convoy to receive events from Convoy. Yeah, I mean, I mean. So um,
But
what?
see, we had a use case. Somebody joined Slack like was it 2 days ago and had a use case for
Yeah, and
exactly.
we were just yeah. And we were able to just tell him like, oh yeah, can I just use another event? So
Yeah.
that felt nice. That felt nice. Yeah, that felt nice. So basically, we send operational events to you or back to your system. So I mean, sometimes you might not want to. Okay, let me not phrase it like that. There are some users we've had in the past that had a different webbook, an internal webbook system.
Mm-hmm.
They had an internal webbook system, and they also wanted to use Convoy, but then they didn't want to ditch their current webbook system. So what we proposed was that we would send them whenever they send an event using Convoy, we would send them back an event they can use to update their own internal system. So their users could still see events on the dashboard that they had already built. That way, we were able to onboard them to using Convoy, but then they didn't have to completely rewrite or change their infrastructure so much.
Yeah. I think I'd
Yeah.
like to say that it also helps you like have a staged migration. So you don't have to do
Yes.
a full on
Full on.
moving.
Yeah.
For most people that already have like a system working, you can just sort of do a two-step migration where you do the first one, you POC convoy, then you do the second one. Yeah.
Yeah. So the events we currently support today, the event delivery sense, because that's when we send an event to an endpoint. Event delivery, no, sorry, event delivery failed. That's when, no, sorry, event delivery delivered. That's when we successfully send an event to an endpoint. Event delivery failed. That is when we try to send an event to when you send an event to an endpoint, and we have exceeded the retries, number of retries, the number of configured retries on that project, there is endpoint created, endpoint updated, and endpoint deleted. And those are for endpoints. So we'll be increasing the number of events we send today, and hopefully,
Yeah, we'll be increasing the number of events we send. As we see the need, basically. So today we send events on endpoints, we send events on event deliveries. So imagine you send an event to an endpoint, it fails, you get an event back to your system that says this endpoint you sent an event to failed. And once it stacks up to a particular threshold, you can do some things. You can plug it to your Grafana, you can plug it to your Prometheus, you can sort of spin up some monitoring for your end, and that's essentially what meta event helps you to do. It helps you also for endpoints. Again, in the stage migration process, you can have your dashboard that shows users their endpoints and the status of their endpoints, green or red. And you can control that by receiving meta events and knowing if this endpoint is available or not.
yeah, meta
Um,
events also helps you if you have users that use portal link. So if they when they create endpoints on the portal link, you get event updates that they have created events that they have created endpoints. So that way you can now update your own internal model of your endpoints or whatever in your own internal system.
all right. And that brings us to the end of a summary of launch week Q2. This launch week doesn't have a code name. Just call it launch week. Debut launch week, inaugural launch week, because the previous launch week was launch day, was not launch week. Um, do we have any questions? I think we have one question. It would be really great if we also get the ability to write our own webhook validation logic like I wanted to use. Oh, I remember this question, but for now I'm doing the validation directly on my end. Yeah, I remember this question. Hmm. Remo, what do you think? I think one way. So one of the ways where we'll probably tackle this is one of the ways where writing functions would
Yeah,
help.
yeah,
So yeah, the functions are not limited to writing transformation on the webhook payload. They can also be used to write custom logic for verification. Yes. So one of the things on our roadmap is Convoy will give you the ability to write like normal JavaScript. And with your normal JavaScript, you can is I guess like it's the sky is the limit. Although we are going to sandboxes, the sky is not the limit. But you'd be but you'd be able to do what's important. Transformation and logic will be you'll be able to do that. Accessing the network might not be possible. Um, but yes, that's something we're going to do in the next quarter. That's something we're going to update our roadmap with. Yes, you'd be able to write custom JavaScript, and with custom JavaScript, you'll be able to write your own source logic, webhook verification, and subscription scoped transformation. I guess we're going to need to flesh that. But yes, it will be most likely you'd be able to write functions, store them in a directory or a list of functions, and attach your functions to different points in the event flow, if that makes sense. Yes. Do we have any other questions? Or we should just support EDSA? I mean, it might be pretty trivial to support EDSA. We should look at that. Yeah, it might be pretty trivial to just throw in a support for that, so that eases your life. Because yes, we do not want you to write the logic in your code. We want essentially like the contract with Convoy and systems that surrounding Convoy is the webhooks gateway. It enables the flow of events, the verification of events, the duping of events. That's the contract with the systems around, and the retention and archiving of these events. And so, yes, we should think of if we can write a custom logic that enables EDDSA quickly. Yeah, we'll think about it. Thank you, Aniket. I think now will be a good time to just throw shout out to the entire team of Convoy that worked on everything. I probably worked on like 1% of everything I've talked about. So now is a good time to throw shout out to the entire team. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Um, Thank you, thank you. In the coming quarter, we are going to be working on a lot more stuff, and we would encourage you to join our Slack community, ask us questions. If you have any questions on integrating Convoy, also you can bring it up now. Um, Join Convoy community, ask us questions. Now, what we are doing currently in the company this week, the, next week, sorry, is we are sort of like scheduling the quarter of what we're working on. So now will be a great time to throw in your feature request. Um, Now will be an excellent time. No, no, not just a great time, an excellent time to send us your feature request on what you want us to be working on. If you've not checked out Convoy Cloud, we recently launched Convoy Cloud. It's also a way if you do not want to self-host, you can sign up on the cloud, easy access, infinite scale, push all your events. Um, and that's it for this launch. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much for joining us. And we're going to see you in our next launch. We're going to see you on Slack.